O Great Spirit, Grandfather, hear my prayer. Today is a good day, and I thank you for this precious gift of life. Help me always walk in a sacred manner, connected to all life, the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the winged ones, the creepy crawlers, and our friends who live in the waters. O Great Spirit, may we listen to the wind and hear her voice, and may the stars remind us of this, our sacred journey.
Masks have played an integral part of Native American culture. The history and significance of the mask has been traced from the fishing villages of the Pacific Northwest to the swamps of Florida, and from the icy lands of the Eskimos to the cave dwellers of the Southwest. Among the Indians, masks were worn during ceremonies and religious events. The journey of the mask has brought us together for this part of the Native American Craft Series. Hello, I'm your host, Don LeBlanc, and I'd like to welcome you to Pinnacles National Monument. In this program, we'll explore the design, craft techniques, application, and the history of masks. The crafting portion of the video will focus exclusively on gourd masks. Now, come with me as together we journey into the mysterious world of mask making. Traditionally, masks were made of wood, animal bones and hides, shells, gourds, and other materials depending upon where the Indians lived and what was available. Some masks were intricately carved, others were elaborately decorated, others were simple in their design, and still others were no more than crude images painted or carved into the mask. The Indians of North America believed that spirits influenced their lives and were responsible for everything important: the weather, their food supply, and even their well-being. To appease these spirits or gods, they performed rituals. Certain members of the tribes wore masks during these ceremonies. Only these members in each group were allowed to make or wear masks. The men who wore them believed that they had the power to commune with the spirits. Some even believed they wore the mask of a particular spirit and therefore possessed its power. If the masks were mistreated or neglected, the Indians thought that this would cause the mask to have a negative effect, stirring up the resentment of the spirit the mask represented. So masks were not taken lightly, and for many it connected the wearer with the mysteries of the unknown. Many Native Americans continue to craft masks of all sorts as part of their ancestral heritage. With respect to their heritage, as well as the ancestors of the land, we ask that you acknowledge this ancient tradition, treat it with respect, and see it as a bridge connecting Native American culture with all cultures. These tall, looming, rocky spires and crags are the remnants of an ancient volcano. These rock formations, known as the Pinnacles, have been shaped by wind, water, and time itself. Once mighty peaks, nearly a mile higher than the tallest point in the park today, now offer a place of rejuvenation and enjoyment to plants, animals, and to us, the two-legged visitors of the park. I really enjoy the outdoors, and this place is absolutely beautiful. This is a perfect environment for mask making. So for all of you at home, if this isn't your backyard, then find a nice quiet spot, take a deep breath, invite your inspiration to take over, and have fun while you create your own design. I'd like to introduce to you a friend of mine. His name is Fred Caballero, and he's a Mescalero Apache elder. Fred has devoted many years to mask making, and he's going to show you step by step how to prepare, design, and craft your own personal gourd mask. Then, Chris Thoney, whose gourd masks are extraordinary and inspirational, is going to share with you several tips and techniques that you can use as you craft your own design. Remember, while you watch, you may want to take notes. Think about your ideas and unleash your creativity, because mask making is the opportunity to tap into the world of visible creation and into the world of the spirits.
Hi, my name is Fred Caballero. I'm an Apache Mescalero. I come from the Rio Grande. In case you don't know where that is, that's by Texas and New Mexico. I come from the desert. I am a desert dweller. I left the reservation when I was very young. I came down with my father when I was about 8 years old. But I always carried a tradition of the Native American culture. This is why I do masks. And I chose to do a lot of my crafts with gourds because we were very useful to us in our reservation. We use them for about everything you can think of, you know, like to carry water. You can use them as a bucket. They grow pretty large. And we usually use them as canteens. You can use them for just about everything you can think of. You can even put your child in there and give them a bath if you like, you know. You cut it with this little saw, and you just sew it down the line, and it's 2 pieces, and you can make 2 different masks with each side. And then I use this tool to clean the inside of the gourd, you know, so to scrape it. You can make it out of a wrought iron or anything. And then I have an awl so that I can make the holes for the feathers. Sometimes you can use a drill, but if it's soft, you can just very slowly make a hole in it, and then you put the feather, and with the feather you just use a glue. We also have this drill. It's a hand drill, and I drill holes because sometimes the gourds are very hard and you can't do it with the awl. What you have to do with it afterwards, you have to use a sander, because if you don't sand it, it has an oil coating that if you don't sand it, then your paint comes off. I'm going to put this piece of cardboard to protect my things here, or you can use a cloth or anything you'd like, and then you spray this. This is your primer, and it's very easy to do. Just all you do is start it, and it takes about 5 minutes to dry, so it dries real fast if you want to give it a couple of coats. And if you just wait about 5 minutes, it's ready to go. All you do now is get a pencil and put your design that you want to put on there. What I'm doing now is I'm sketching my design that I need to put on the mask. What I'm going to do, I have to put the design, and after I put the design, I will tape it. Now, if you don't want to use and mask all this tape, you can use a piece of paper just to cover the area that you don't want to paint. I usually do this because I'm used to just doing it faster. It depends what you like to do. You normally take a piece of paper and cut it in the shape of your face. For example, just like here. And then you tape the edges. This kind of tape, if you can't find it, is called a non-permanent tape. What you do, it peels off very easily. It's not a permanent tape like most of the tapes, most of the Scotch tapes. When you go over the lines, what I usually do is I take my knife and cut around it, right on the area where the line is. Okay, now I'm just about ready to spray my first part, which is going to be this area. Everything else is covered. So I'm going to bring out my cardboard, and I'm going to start spraying with my blue can, which is, I chose a blue as a background, and I tested first on the board, and this is how you spray it. And like I said again, it will also be about 5 to 10 minutes to dry. Peeling this off, it just takes a little while, because what you want to do, you don't want to take your knife and cut your gourd off, because your gourds are very, very sensitive. You know, they're not made of hard wood. Gourds are very easy to work with. Once you get to know them, they can even speak to you and tell you exactly what they want, believe it or not. Now, you can see the results of where the face is still intact. I'm going to tape all the blue, and I'm going to be doing the orange, and I'll leave the red and black for the last. Okay, now I finished. I masked all the parts of this mask. I masked the orange like I said I would, and I painted it. I did the red and the black. I masked them the same way as you saw me do the blue. And you saw me do all the blue. Now what I'm going to do, I decided to put a nose on it. This is also a gourd, and use it as a nose like I have done here. I'm going to spray the nose red, the beak, and the ears, so that I can put them on before I put the feathers. The feathers is the last thing that I do. What I'm going to do is to paint this red on both sides. And sometimes it's still alive. Okay, now I'm ready to put the beak in my, I keep saying nose, you know how Indians are. They just say whatever comes to their mind. Now I'm just going to let it dry for a few seconds. And let it dry, and then I'll put the ears on, because I don't want to move the nose. Okay, now these are going to be the ears for it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have to hold it for a little bit, because it takes a little while to set, because the glue, the thing is not perfectly flat, so you have to wait until it dries pretty good. One side first. Now it's beginning to look like a mask, like a little bird. And this is what it is. It's going to be a crow, what I would call a crow. So I'm going to select this big feather as the center. And this is how I do it. I line the feathers up so that maybe I can select some feathers, like they go in the opposite way, so they'd be even. Like that one will go this way, and maybe this one will match that one. And then I get some more to go along with them, so that they're about the same size. Okay, now I'm going to be ready to drill the holes for the feathers. I've selected some of the feathers, and what I'm doing is I'm drilling some holes for the larger feathers. And the one that I selected was this big one for the centerpiece. And it's going to go something like this.
Native Americans believed that birds of all kinds were important messengers. Some winged ones were regarded as sacred spirits, and the Indians treated them with the highest respect. The Indians believed the feathers of these birds carried its spirit and were sacred. Only the person who possessed the bird's feathers possessed the power of the spirit. Held most sacred were the birds of prey, the owl, the hawk, and above all others, the eagle. The Indians watched it commune with the clouds and saw that it feared nothing, not even the face of the sun. There were orders of eagles, and the golden eagle was considered the highest in the order. Only special warriors or priests could take the sacred eagle, and only after performing elaborate ceremonies of preparation.
And then I'm going to get one of these that's facing this side. And then I'll get another one facing the opposite way, which is this one. For your mistakes, you put the dowel feathers in there so that you don't see the big holes in there. See, they're going to look something like this. Now we're going to put some around the nose or the beak. I keep calling it nose because I consider all of these blood brothers. Oops. I'm getting more dowel feathers on me than I am on the mask. But then you can see what the results are of a day's work. I usually paint the way I feel the birds are. They are part of nature. They're part of me. I'm part of nature. And I look at them in a very spiritual way, very, very spiritual way.
Now that Fred's shown you how to make a basic gourd mask, Chris, who's down in the canyon, is prepared to demonstrate tips and techniques that you can use while you craft your own design.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm here to show you some techniques on gourd mask making. I'm going to start with a gourd just like you get it from out in the fields, covered with dirt and mold. And we're going to use a chore boy, which comes from just your local supermarket. It's a pot scrubber and a bucket of water to clean the gourd. So right now I'm just dipping it in the water, and I'm going to use the chore boy to scrape off the outer mildew. Comes off pretty easy. So now we have a clean gourd, and I'm just going to look at the gourd and find where the front is or where my face shows. Sometimes it's real easy to see that one side may look very much like a face, and for me it's this side right here. So from there I'll get my pencil, and what I do is normally look to the center and just draw a couple of little lines to give an indication of where center is. From here, I imagine a wall going through the gourd, because if it's going to hang on a wall, you need to have your lines be straight, and sometimes the gourds curve, so your line needs to go straight with the wall. And as you can see by my line, it doesn't matter that the line is perfect. Just kind of get an idea of where it goes. To cut your gourd, you'll use a keyhole saw. It's real important that it has a sharp point so that you can actually get into your gourd. And I use my feet to balance my gourd. I'm just going to stick the knife in here and rock it back and forth. It's a real gentle motion, not forcing in any way. And then you get into the gourd and just start going back and forth. I've cut all the way down on one side. I'm going to turn the gourd over and do the same thing from the other side. Now I'm just going to pull the gourd open. And here's what we have on the inside. So to clean this out, you can pull out what you can get out with your hand, and the rest can be done with just an ordinary spoon. It's important that the spoon be sturdy because it will bend. And just go ahead and get right in there. Scrape out as much as you can. After you get the gourd as clean as you'd like, you can take a little sandpaper. Just a little piece is fine. And sand the edges. Okay, so the next step we have is drawing the face on the gourd. And I use a pencil and going to think about where you want to have your gourd hanging on the wall, up high or down low. Also, if you want to wear the gourd for a mask, it makes a difference on how you draw the face. Typically what I like to do is divide my face into sections so I know where the center is and where eye level is. From there, I'm just going to draw eyes on the gourd. And a mouth and a cheek, and we have the start of a design. Once again, we're going to use a keyhole saw. This time I have a very small bladed keyhole saw. It gives a finer cut. And to do the eyes, I'm just going to go into the gourd. And once again, keeping your fingers out of the way of the knife. Okay, so on the other side of the eye, you do the same thing. Put the knife in and saw. You can sand the edges if you'd like. We've got an eye. Now, to put a mouth on, you can either just drill a hole or actually wood burn a mouth on. Or what I'm going to do is use another piece of a gourd to add a mouth. What I'm doing here is putting the mouth on the gourd and drawing around it. Now that I have my hole, I'm going to do the same thing with the saw and cut around these edges. Now we'll see if our piece fits in. Oh, pretty good. So to make it a really good fit, I'm going to wrap a little sandpaper around the edge here. Actually stick this back in the hole. There you go. Okay, the next step is to wood burn your design on. The tool I use is called a hot tool. Comes with a standard tip, and I use this tip for over 95% of my designs. And I've drawn some straight lines across this mask, and I'll show you how to make a straight line with this tip. It's basically, you just put the tool right onto the gourd so that it's flat, and just pull it along the gourd. Now what I like to do is balance it on my body so that I have some leverage. And just continue on. Now I'm drawing a circle. It's also a straight line, but I'm propping the gourd against my belly and turning the gourd and my hand as I work with the hot tool. Now maybe we'd like to make some marks where we actually make little diamond shapes, which can be made by just putting the tool into the gourd and pressing. This also is a hot tool. It's a much larger one, and it has a round tip. I'm just going to make a few designs with this. It's just a matter of touching the tool to the gourd. And since the gourds aren't completely flat, sometimes you'll get full circles and sometimes you won't. So now that we have our design completely on the gourd, we're going to wash off the pencil marks with just a wet sponge. Little soap helps if you want to use dishwashing soap. Then we'll dry it off. So in the dyeing process, I use leather dyes. And this color I'm going to be using is called medium brown. I'm going to apply it with a dauber. Comes with the leather dye. You just dip it in. You don't need a whole lot. And just apply it on the gourd. And as you can see, it runs. So you really don't want to have too much on your gourd if you're trying to stay in the lines. And with this particular color, what I'm going to do is actually wipe it off. Apply it on and wipe it off. Now I'm going to paint one of these smaller lines here. So I'm going to use a paintbrush. You can use Q-tips or paintbrushes, whatever's easier for you. And I've just applied a little bit of dye. Once again, as you can see, it moves, travels, and the wood burning line helps to keep the dye in the line. We're putting our final touches on of the dye. I always like to get the bottom of the gourd as well as this little mouthpiece and on the inside. The next step would be to apply shoe polish, and I apply it with Q-tips. I'm just kind of trying to get it coated on here. And after you get it applied, you'll just take a paper towel and rub it in. The next step would be to spray your gourd to seal it with a wood spray. And I use this, it's called Death. It's a wood finish. And it's really important to wear a mask when you do this. If you'd like to add some detail to your gourd, you can carve your gourd. I use a Dremel tool. This is a flex shaft that's attached to it to make it easier to hold. And it's a pretty noisy thing. So as you can see, you can get a lot of different variety by using the Dremel tool, and what it actually does is goes into the gourd and removes part of the gourd, so you get a light color showing through. So now our gourd's ready to embellish, and I think what I'll do is drill some holes around the eyes. You can use a pencil to mark them if you'd like to, and what I typically do is mark the center, bottom and top, and the corners. And then position the gourd down. Just use the drill right on your little mark. Usually what I do in using sinew, sewing around the eyes, is cut a fairly long piece, 3 to 4 feet, and thread it into a tapestry needle, just about that much. And I find it's easiest to start at the bottom, sort of in the center. Just pull the sinew through to where you have enough to tie on the back side. Push it through to the back side and just make a knot. From here, bring your sinew back out to the front, in the hole, back through the back to the front, and into the same hole. You're basically making 2 stitches into each hole. The first one is a slight diagonal, and the second one just straight into the hole. The thread will guide you. And as you can see, some of these steps take a little longer than others, and I was just enjoying the beautiful sunset as I was stitching. So we'll wind it up here. Continuing to go into each hole twice. And we're just about to our last stitch, which will be into the hole that we began in. And then you'll turn the gourd over, using your original thread, tie a knot. Next we can move on to the hair, like this. I'm going to drill a row of holes across the top, and once again you can use pencil mark to mark your holes, or you can just drill. And I'm going to do 2 rows. And I think on this mask I'll use seagrass for the hair. This is called twisted seagrass. Comes like this in a hank. I'm just going to start to pull some out. And then I'll count my sets of holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll need 8 pieces. And probably want my hair about that long. So using your first piece as a marker, let's go ahead and cut 8 pieces of seagrass. Okay, now we're ready to attach the seagrass to the mask. And I'm using a thread now called waxed linen. You can also use imitation sinew if you'd like. And I'm going to cut about 4 feet of this as well. And once again, thread it into a tapestry needle. Similar to the eyes, we're going to start from the underneath. Leave a little piece here so that you have something to tie it to. Now I have a little loop. I'm going to put 1 piece of seagrass through, fold it so it matches at the top, pull it tight, and then tie my knot. I'm just going to continue on up through the back, down through the top, insert a piece of seagrass, and then pull it tight. Now what I like to do to secure the hair is to do every stitch twice. So you're just going to go back through the same holes. Back to your starting place. Now this seagrass is called twisted seagrass, and you can unravel it if you'd like to get a little fuller look. So just about done here with the hair. And as you can see, our gourd is now coming to life. So I think I'll attach some earrings, but I think what I'll use are these Jacaranda seed pods. Yeah. So I'm going to just drill a hole in the middle of each of these, and I use a board so that I have something to drill into. Just one hole in each. Then I'm going to use waxed linen again. This time a much smaller piece, probably about 12 to 14 inches. Just going to put the waxed linen through the jacaranda seed pod, matching up both your ends and tying a knot. Sounds like the crickets have joined us. Just put the thread through the hole in the bead and through the second bead. Now I'm going to thread my needle onto this thread. Line it up to the gourd to see where you want to have your earring. And I think I'll just use the needle to punch the hole this time. Just put it in and turn it around slightly. And pull it through. And there we have our earring. So it's the same thing for the other one. And there you have it. A finished mask. Now that I've finished this mask, I'd like to show you a few more techniques that you could do on your own mask. On this mask, we used whole jacaranda seed pods and just attached them to the bottom and appliqued a palm inflorescence on the top. Basically, you start with the palm inflorescence and wet it and drill your holes like we did on the other mask, one on each side. Attach the palm and sew it on. And you can do this in a lot of different ways. On this mask, I used raffia for the hair and then braided it and tied each little braid off. And then on the bottom, used philodendron sheath. And once again, it's just the same holes and the same stitch. Now this gourd shows a lot of different colors that you can use with the leather dyes. The red, the green, blue, British tan. And I used a white shoe polish here. Now this gourd is used the opposite direction as this gourd. This would be the same direction. This is the opposite direction. On this mask, I used raffia for the eyes. It's the exact same stitch as using the imitation sinew. It's just a little bit thicker look and it's colored. And as you can see on this gourd, all the colors are very clear. This is also done just with leather dye, no shoe polish. And another example of a technique you can use on your mask is this Raffia Hair. And it's stitched the same way as we stitched the seagrass. The holes are made for the eyes and the mouth, and the palm is woven around the edge. So, thank you for sharing this time, and I hope you enjoy making your own gourd mask.
Mask making is an excellent school arts project. Kids enjoy the opportunity to express themselves with paints and other crafts materials as they create their own designs. Perfect for a rainy day or as an alternative to watching TV, mask making is a great activity for the entire family.
So, Eric, take a look at this. How do you like this?
Masks, beautiful, mysterious, and intriguing, and each unique in its own way. Remember, we're related to the smallest of animals, to the air that we breathe, to the winds that bring us rejuvenating energy, to the waters that cover the earth, and even to the stars that guide us at night. I'll see you on the trail for our next adventure.